was a pretty uneventful day till the final hour in terms of the market overall. We did spike above 292 into the meeting. For those of you who aren't listening to the audio feed yesterday, somebody had asked yesterday morning about patterns after Fed meetings. The most common pattern that I've seen at least a few times a year is the spike above the intraday high to a kind of resistance area, and then a reversal and take out the intraday low. We've seen it a bunch of times. I think we saw it maybe 2 or 3 meetings ago. We didn't see it last meeting before yesterday, but definitely within the last 6 months, I think. So that's the one I look for. Usually it's by a whole number. So something like 92, it fails the first time, gets above, gets back down below. You nibble, and then you see if it can hold below here. Notice when it took that out, it actually spiked back up to the top of this little area we had highlighted. And then when they took out the intraday low, it came off $1.50, which in this level of volatility right now is a lot. A 50-cent move is actually a pretty good move in the SPYs. So I wouldn't read too much into it, other than we see this quite often after Fed meetings. What I would look for is the market catches a bid and it fails the area where it kind of broke through the support from the last couple of days. If it comes up into here and fails and then starts to hold below 290, that would be kind of interesting. But ultimately, 290 for, what was the high? It was 293 plus $1.30, 294.30 for. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of just for pullbacks that we've seen since the first week of May. This is between here and here. That would be it. So even if we did take out yesterday's low over the next couple of days, this would kind of be your screaming buy down here. Buy out of the money calls, sell puts, everything. It's just in the size of the pullback you've been getting. The last one was this one here. IWM adjusted for dividend is 169 now. So technically, when you back out the dividend, it did take out this low from a few days ago. I think people are starting to notice the weakness in IWM now. I've seen a few articles the last couple of days. So it was already showing the relative weakness to the SPY, but it's holding up okay. Looking at it for today, a pop up into here, 168.75 to 168. And a failure here, that would be kind of interesting to me. I guess this is, I already highlighted kind of the worst case scenario, or short term worst case scenario down here around 166.5. If you back out the dividend, maybe it comes down a little bit closer to 166 now. All right, so Bed Bath & Beyond has just been in a downtrend for about 3 years now. Just fundamental problems with their business. Just a nasty downtrend the last couple of years. Failed at 50, failed at 47. And you can see gap down, gap down, gap down. This will be the 4th gap down in a row, I guess, in terms of earnings. We should take that back. This was 2 quarters ago.
Mexico trade balance minus.
I guess this was the last earnings right in here. Tried to actually rally back up, got to 21.5. Taking out the low now. So the question people are asking themselves now, and it did get a bunch of downgrades, price targets stand lower to 16, which it's barely below, is they changed guidance to about $2 per share. So going forward, under 8 times earnings, if it actually can stabilize and maintain those earnings, this stock could easily get back to $20 to $25. People are right now betting whether or not those numbers are going to keep on coming down or if they're going to stabilize. And that's kind of the bet down here. So it's possible it could bounce. And what that would look like is it would get back to above 16.15, kind of hold in that area and then break to the upside. And you could maybe see a move over the next few days back up to $18, $19, something like that. If people don't think that the new guidance, if they think they're going to continue to lower guidance, then maybe it'll come off a little bit more, maybe down to close to 14 or something. I don't know if it could do it today, but maybe in the next couple of days. So as bad as the trend is and as in control as the sellers are from a big picture perspective, it's getting down to numbers where you can start to see some bottom fishers, I think. Obviously, all these people here were burnt who started to bottom fish when it kind of held here, held higher, above, let's say, 17.5, 18. So if it does have a bounce today or tomorrow, 17.5, 18 would be a reasonable spot to look for people to start selling who want to just get out, who are in from here. Normally only has a 60-cent range. 3 times ATR will give us $1.80. If the low ends up being 15, that would give us a move. Kind of this would be our working range. AAOI, this sold off hard yesterday, then got a downgrade today. I think what caught people's attention was the price target lowering from 45 to 20. That's a big drop. Not the best timing. Would have been nice if they did it here, right? So they lower their price target from 45 to 20 as it's come off 20% in the last couple weeks. So obviously this was clearly some good news here. That got it to go from 30 to almost 50. Double tops, somehow got up there again. It's 27, 28. Yeah. So I'm kind of curious to see if it flushes on the open and then starts to hold above 28, can it bounce back up to 30 to 31? Any type of failure to break down below and hold below 28 in the first couple hours and start to hold 28 and then hold a little bit higher, you look for the move back up to here. If the first move on the open is back up to 30, I want to see the two sellers come in here. It's possible it could go right up to 30, then make higher low and actually fill the gap. It's a question of the guy who downgraded it, I don't know, it's a little bit suspect. So, CCJ. So they want a tax case, which could potentially be worth $3.5, $4 a share between that in that range. So it's gapping up. It's gapping up about $1.50. So there's some more upside there, based on the analyst report I read. So we have this area up here. We got a little further. Yeah, and if it really catches a bid today and there's some buyers, this is kind of what you're looking at right here. The support area I put in there is a little bit aggressive, but it seems like really good news. Obviously, from a technical perspective, it's more like 1030. the 1050. But this would be the area that I'd be looking for bids to start to come in front of this. But really, obviously, if it spiked down right on the open to this area here, I'd be extremely aggressive buying it against $10. CAG, small miss, guides in line. It seemed like it was overreaction on the downside. See if it bounced at all yet. It looks like it did, maybe. At a point. Just looking at also on the daily, to me, it's a really messy chart. So I wouldn't spend a lot of time trading it, but on the open, just can you see how messy this is? With these, it's just this. I mean, I guess if you get on the right side of it, like starts coming off here, it does go straight down, and I wouldn't say this was straight up, but it had a pretty good up move here, held, and then had another kind of nice up move. Just got to get on the right side of it. So I think other people are thinking the same thing as me now. It's kind of like buyers are really stepping in. What do I have for resistance on this? 35.30. Well, I have this as the first resistance here. So anyway, they're buying in the pre-market here at 33.5. So I guess some type of flush back into this area here, and then the bid steps up and they're holding 33.50. That's when I would look for the move back. Nike. Nike was really strong yesterday, so was fortunate to catch the initial down move on the short side. So this is a pattern that I actually just did a script for recently. So right on the open, you put in the low. It goes up pretty strongly. It comes down, takes out the low here, and gets back up it within 5 minutes above it. As long as the distance between the first low and the low of the day is under 0.2 of an ATR, let's say, get long here, back above the original low, and then kind of see what happens. Now in this case, I actually saw on the tape there was a buyer at 82.30, and that's where I flipped it right here. But it's just a really common intraday pattern where you put in a low on the open, market shows there's some buyers. It's before 10 o'clock, and it drops out, takes out the low, but very quickly they just don't hold it there and it gets back above. It's worth, and then plus the extra factor is if you're actually watching it and you see on the tape, I'll show you if I can see on the chart if we can see it. So it was right here. See how it gets tight? I've talked about this a million times. What you want to see is when something moves higher is you want to see it actually get tight. Because this means that the buyers have stepped up and it's waiting for kind of the next move. And so it could have dropped. I bought it here at 31 cents, I think, 32, put a stop below 25, but they stepped higher and that was it. So if you miss this, the most logical place to buy in a pullback, just same as Facebook 2 days ago, once you kind of see the strength in the buyers, you got the morning resistance, put in the morning resistance on your chart here, and then just use this as your spot to buy, this range right here, and then see what happens when it gets back up to the high. And this is very methodical, by the way. It's just like Facebook 2 days ago. So what happens when it makes a new high here? It comes back in, it tests, and actually it starts to look like maybe it's going to roll over here, but quickly gets back above. And then sold off right at the end of the day when the market tanked, which is normal. Nike is a decent sized component of the S&P. So looking at it for today, this is stock that was bought, so we want to look to see if we can buy it. Best case scenario would be just a quick flush on the open into this area right here. Your upside you'd be looking for would be here. I totally shook off the news. I mean, it did. Actually, 83 is really good. It would be great if it actually flushed into this 83 here. If it doesn't flush into 83 and you want to get involved, if has a tight consolidation above $84 and gets above this year, this 84.30, that would be another spot I'd look at. KBH took out our support too. I wasn't on the desk when it finally bottomed and got back up to S2. You know, I actually might do a video or a blog post on this. So I think we had this as a support, and then I think this was the next, it was kind of this and this. So I gave it a shot here, didn't work. Just want to do it on the 5 minutes so we can see it better. And it kind of gave me an escape. So I bought it here. It spiked up to like 25, 70, 20, you know, then it took it out. I got sold a little bit here, stopped out. Came back down to 24.50, bought some here, spiked up, did 90 cents, sold some, got stopped out. Felt like the last 5% just to keep an eye on it. And then finally, there were buyers here at 24. Moved sideways for a while, made the new low, and then got back. You know, obviously you can see the buyer stepping cleanly, does a retest to the support, and then starts to hold higher, and then starts to look better. And from a bigger picture perspective, you want to see if it can close above 24.50, right? That was the longer term support. That's why we had it as our S2, and it did. So we'll kind of see now. That was it. The key levels for today are 24.50 and 24, and then 25. The buyers kind of step up again, the ones that were buying it in the afternoon here, and they can't hold it above 25. See that retest. ALBX, I was surprised, not by the initial bounce, but after it started to roll over again down here to 13.30, that it actually went to 16. I wasn't around watching it, but you know, the bounce from 12, that's, you know, you want to try to buy that here to the move to 14. We talked about potentially maybe putting in a lower high. 16 was the high in the pre-market. You put in a lower high at 14.80, rolled over $1.50, and then it tried to put in another lower high. You can kind of see it pretty clearly right here. People were probably feeling pretty good about being shorted. But then when it started to roll over here, it just held 13.5 a little bit higher. And then when it started to hold above 14 and broke to the upside, that's when you had to be thinking, okay, it's going to at least test this. I probably still wouldn't have been thinking it was going to test 16, but it did. And then at the end of the day, rolled all the way back down to here. So it's a pretty wild ride. I'm not sure if you were just treating it on a 5-minute technical, you would have been okay. But I could definitely see some people thinking, wow, this is a long, it's consolidating up at the high of the day. Tomorrow it's going to gap up, maybe go up to $18, $19. So I wouldn't get bullish on it again unless it started to consolidate above 14. And then on the downside, obviously 12 again. I put 13 on the sheet because I thought if it flushed right on the open to kind of where it was into the close, that it could maybe support there. But it's going to be a tough stack. So I would say wait for one of these, like something like this, where it fails at 14, makes a higher low, and then you see this consolidation above 14. If you get a setup like that, right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I usually like to see 5 sideways bars before the break. It was only 4. So maybe would have been a little bit cautious on this break here, but it was pretty clean. It broke, held, and then had the big move. I generally look for 5-minute bars after 10 a.m. on the sideways consolidation, horizontal consolidation. All right, as always, be patient and good luck.